What is good, YouTube? It is the Flexibility Maestro here with another value-packed video for you. Today, I want to go over side bending strength and mobility and why I think it is important to train it. The two primary muscles that are responsible for laterally flexing your trunk are the Quadratus Lumborum and the obliques. Now, although these muscles are relatively small, they can have a massive impact on your athletic ability, your back strength and mobility. So if you're dealing with back pain, you might want to pay attention to this one. And they're also just vital in your movement in general as a whole. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to go about training these side bending capacities with a pretty simple exercise that I personally use, not only in my own training, but also with a lot of the athletes that I work with as well. But first, before I get into the tutorial of the exercise, I just want to give you a little context as to the function of these muscles and why it's important to train them in the first place. And to be fair, if you don't give a shit about that and you just want to learn how to do the exercise, then I totally understand. And that's why I left the timestamps in the description below so that you can just get what you need and go. Now, taking a closer look at the QL, these two little rectangular muscles run from the top of your pelvis up to your bottom rib and are attached to your lumbar spine on each side. So this is literally one of your deepest back muscles. The QL plays a critical role in the stabilization and movement of your pelvis in the frontal plane of motion. And it also works to help with the stabilization and movement of your core and low back in lateral flexion and trunk extension. Generally speaking, for most people, the QL is very tight, very weak, and lacks conditioning, especially in those side bending capacities. And now shifting over to the obliques, we have internal obliques and external obliques. Together they form your lateral abdominal wall along with the transverse abdominis. These muscles primarily work to rotate and laterally flex the trunk, but they also play a role in flexing the trunk forwards as well. And as such, they help to compress the abdominal cavity, assisting with forced exhalation and helping to maintain intra-abdominal pressure. Now, if you've been following along so far, we know that aside from being stabilizers, these muscles both play a critical role in our side bending and rotational capacities. And one very interesting bonus feature that rarely ever gets talked about is that the QL and the obliques both play a role in your ability to abduct the hips, or in other words, lift your leg up to the side. So what does this all mean? Why is this information relevant to you? Well, to all my martial arts athletes out there, especially the ones that do a lot of kicking, if your QL and obliques are weak, deconditioned, and lack mobility, this means that there is a ton of potential performance that's being left on the table. And conversely, if you can imagine a world where those muscles are preposterously strong, think about how much your kicking and overall movement would improve. You'll be able to produce more power through rotating your trunk and get your legs up higher. But even if you don't train martial arts, I would argue that every single sport has some degree of trunk rotation required. And even if you don't train in any sport, a stronger and more flexible QL can only help to fix or prevent back pain and aid in better movement. Who doesn't want that? So now that I've got all that covered, let me show you one of the easiest ways to start training these muscles directly so that you can start making some gains ASAP. So the exercise that I want to show you is called the loaded QL extension. So with this exercise, we're going to want to use some weight. And even if you're at a beginner level and you're only using 5 pounds, that's okay. But the weight is going to give us some tactile feedback so that our body gets a better understanding and sense of purpose, meaning, and direction so that it can better understand the adaptations that we're looking for it to make. And on top of that, the added weight is going to help to intensify the stretch sensation. It's going to add a little bit more leverage to gravity so that we can maybe potentially work through greater ranges of motion and find a deeper stretch. And it's also going to create a strength-based stimulus for this exercise so that we can really make some solid gains with it. So to set up your positioning, we're going to start with our feet together, holding the weight in one hand. Whatever side you're holding the weight, we're going to take that leg and we're going to step it back, one nice big step back. And then from here, we're also going to take a bit of a side step out to create more width between your feet. And in terms of the distance that you're stepping back, it's pretty subjective. Try and play around with the position and see what feels best for you. But just for reference, this is approximately the distance that I work from. Once we're all set up in a good position, we're going to bring the opposite hand up to our head and we're just lowering that weight down and driving back up. Now, to give you some cues to think about while you're executing this exercise, we're gonna wanna think about sliding that weight down our back leg, down the thigh, and that's gonna really help to guide us into a nice alignment and make sure that we're not kind of reaching forwards with it or coming backwards with it. We're gonna be maintaining a nice alignment and really targeting the obliques and the QL very effectively. And as we're lowering that weight, we also wanna think about driving our hips out to the opposite side to create as much space between our hip and our elbow as we possibly can. Find the deepest stretch that you can. And then we're crunching back up and really think about crunching those ab muscles and really squeezing at the top. And you can even think about bringing your elbow down towards your hip. And another great cue for you to think about to maximize the stretch on the side of our body is really to think about reaching your top elbow across the body off towards the opposite side and actively reaching. And then again, we're crunching at the top. And just to show you from a side angle so you can get a good idea of the alignment that we're looking to maintain. Again, we're actively reaching and then crunching back up. And the one thing that we do want to avoid is kind of having our chest come down towards the floor and having ourselves rotate out of that side bending or even kind of coming back like that. Again, we want to think about that weight sliding down the back leg and keeping a nice kind of linear side bend here and then coming back up. So I hope you got some value out of the information that was shared in this video. If you have anything to add or you have any questions even, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. And of course, if you like this video, it would be really cool if you could hit that thumbs up button. If you know anyone that would benefit from this video, it would be great if you could just pass it along and pay it forward. And of course, if you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more of it, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with my latest videos. I will see you in the next one. Peace.